I'm going to try and say it anyway, which is basically if you're having a hard time, it means you're going uphill. So it means
Mm.
like you're going up, you're rising to the top basically, because when you walk uphill, it's harder. So, if it's hard, then it means you're making good progress, that you're not just, walking straight on a straight surface. What's the word for it?
Plane,
Anyway, on a plane.
plane
Sorry?
surface, a plane
Yeah, I'm
surface.
saying like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the opposite. Like if you're just walking on a plane surface straight ahead, no uphills, no nothing, then it's
Mm.
what progress or change are you making?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it, and it's, it kind of, you know, it kind of follows the what's, if it's worth having, it's going to ask, it's going to take some hard work to get to.
Yeah.
um I think it's just, you want the release sometimes to be a bit easier. And I I am terrible about watching new shows. I will only watch the shows that I like. And so periodically I'll go back to, Charmed and Lost and all these shows that are Grey's Anatomy. And actually I haven't rewatched Grey's Anatomy because 20 seasons later. But I used to say that I started watching Desperate Housewives again.
Oh
And
wow.
there's a
Oh, I
lot
think
of
you
things
mentioned
that
this. Yeah.
I love it. And there are some things that are not aging very well, in
Mm-mm.
regards to today's, it's 2004. And then there are certain things that I'm just like, well, at the time it was, toxic, and then, and it's not woke anymore, and it wouldn't fit anymore. But there are certain things where they do address it, that it is hard, and what happens behind closed doors that you're not aware. And actually, I think it's Mark Cherry, the producer of the show. Desperate Housewives is an answer to Sex and the City, where Sex and the City is these four women that talk about their extravagant lives around a cocktail in the city, and they are very open with each other, and they know everything about each other's lives. And I think it's Mark Cherry. Anyway, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. Said, that's not how women are. Women um, women will share certain details of their lives with their friends, but they will protect their family, and they will protect their intimacy. And and a lot of things happens behind closed doors that people just do not share. And so Desperate Housewives is an answer to Sex and the City, in the sense that we don't think that's how women behave. We think this is how women behave. And I think there are truths in both shows, and that's not the point. But where I am at now in the show is where Lynette, who's married to Tom, is flirting with somebody else.
Mm.
And she's flirting with somebody else because they are going through a rough patch. Like, he's hurt, so he's not helping her. She's taking everything on. She's having a hard time with it. And so she's, somebody she's working with is younger, handsome, and is flirting with her, and she's enjoying the attention. And the arc is, things go badly, and people flirt with the limit, but it turns out that, and he confronts her about it, the other guy, and she says, you can't, you know married people go through tough patches, and we test the limits, but I will never cross the limit, and this is how I feel about it. And now that you've said it, it was fine whilst we were kind of in the dark about it, but now that it's out in the open, I can't continue talking to you about it, because I'm never going to leave my husband, because this is what married people do. We go through these rough patches and help each other out, and and we support each other, and we don't give up, and this is what that's it. And I thought, that's such a healthy way of presenting the whole situation, because compared to Gabby, who's, this size 00 model full of money, and Susan, who's a klutz, and Edie, who's the slut, and Brie, who's like this overachiever. But Brie also is kind of a good example of just, you will show these things, but actually, I show you my perfect family, but actually my child has killed someone, and my other child is blackmailing her teacher.
Yeah.
And I think it was a positive, a lot of the times I'm thinking, God, this is terrible, and then I'm thinking this is actually very good. I mean, Desperate Housewives was one of the best shows. It's 8 seasons long, and these types of messages of just different, so everybody lives on the same street. These five women live on the same street, and they have different incomes, they have different relationships with men, they have different family lives, they have different ways of dealing with it. And I think it was a very healthy thing of just because you seem to be in the same situation does not mean that you are, because of everything else. And I think that's beautiful. I think it was great. That's my love letter to Desperate Housewives.
That was an incredible love letter, very romantic. I think we show what we want people to see. And there are many things that, every person's, I feel like when someone tries so hard to seem perfect, or the perfect it seems, there's more probably hiding under the surface. And it's important to remember that people show you what they want you to see, and you need to make sure to take it with a grain of salt, and certainly not compare your situation to theirs, because that's going to make you feel bad no matter what your situation is. And it's not going to help you better yours. So, you
Yeah.
may as well focus on just trying to make the most of where you are in life. And there was a point I was trying to make, and it completely escaped my brain. But
Don't compare yourself. People show you what they want you to see.
yeah, I don't know, you just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I was watching again that show Easy, where there's
Mm.
the same couple that I was talking about, that they have, like, they show that they have such an incredible marriage, but then they have a family, kids, whatever, and then but under the surface there was something missing, and they felt the need to go and open up their marriage and see other people. And so other people can look at them from the outside and say, oh, they look so incredible, but you don't know what's actually going on. You don't know if they're really that faithful to each other, or are they just,
Yeah. I mean, I a while back I was working in this company where um I was not like, I was not where I wanted to be at that age, at that time, professionally, personally, and everything. And this other girl, who she and I were, I think, the same age, and she seemed like she had everything. She earned
Mm-hmm.
like just about 3 times what I was earning, which was, you don't compare, your value is not what you earn, but it kind of also, it does show where you are in your life, and how stable you are. So she was earning 3 times what I was earning. She was married with 2 kids, which
Yeah.
at that time I wanted to be, comfortable financially, and I wanted to be married, and I wanted to have at least one kid. Certain amount of time later, I'm stable, but I'm not married and haven't got a kid. But at the time, I that's what I wanted, and I was comparing myself to her a lot, and it was tough. And then I realized that she was working from 7 a.m. up until 11:30 at night. Like, I saw
Yeah.
emails of hers going past at that time, and I overheard conversations of, her husband was away for business and she was away for business, and so they hardly had any time with each other. And she, just had a child, and then a few months later she was off for a couple of weeks for business. And these business trips, they seem exotic, but people come back from a 1 or 2 week business trip exhausted. She
Mm-hmm.
she was on the other side of the world, and she did not enjoy her time there. She was working. Because there was a time difference, she had to work that business day where she was, and then the French business day, which is where we are. And I was just like, that it doesn't seem healthy. And I hope she will, I hope that she's still doing fine and that she will continue on to do fine. But from where I was sitting, I was like, that is not what I want. I want a life where maybe I'm earning less, but I'm spending more time with my family. And now today, I'm living with someone who has a child, and I don't see myself waking up at 6 to start work at 7 and then working up until 11:30 and then going to bed at midnight, not having spent time with them, and then not spending any weekends with them because he's away and then I'm away, and then nobody's with the kid, and the kid is with the nanny, and I don't it's and that it's probably fine for her. She was living it in a way where I don't know if she was happy or not with that situation. Hopefully she is, and if she is, then great for her.
Yeah. We we tend to, again, we glorify other people's situations. Like you brought up someone who travels, and you see this a lot, especially with business people who travel the world, but they hate it. They hate traveling because it's exhausting for them. It means sleeping in hotels all the time and not being at home with their family. It means, and even when they travel, they don't get to see anything and do anything interesting. Sorry, there's a loud helicopter flying above it. Well, probably an army jet, but whatever. I'm digressing. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
Sorry, that completely
Yeah, I can
cut my train
imagine.
of thought.
People
What
traveling
was I
don't
say?
enjoy.
Yeah, so you don't actually get to see the place you're traveling to. It doesn't isn't that much fun. And but people from the outside, all they see is you get to travel and you get to be in all these different countries, and oh my God, it's so amazing for you. And or like when you look at a rich person and say, oh my God, I wish I had their amount of money. But with money comes rich people problems. And I think rich people problems are probably like some of the worst
Way
problems you can
bigger.
have.
Oh yeah.
And on a different scale that you can't even imagine. So look, so you're looking at someone's situation from your perspective without seeing the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I kind of remembered some of the point that I wanted to make beforehand was exactly that. You see situations differently. Even if you're together in a situation with someone else, you each have your own perspective. They say there's three sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth. And so, people just see things differently, whether it's just a matter of opinion because you have different opinions about different values or situations or concepts or subjects or matters or whatever it is. Each person has their own opinion about different things, or you just see the world differently, or you can show me, we can both look at the same picture. You will notice one thing, I'll notice another.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that we just don't see. And to take it back again to that show, which I think is littered with great situations that we could
I'm
talk
gonna
about
write
for
it down.
hours, but
Easy.
yeah. And so there's this professor who's, oh my God, he's such a narcissist. But there's this he well he's a mixture of things. He was like he's an artist, he's a writer, and he's kind of whatever famous. And he used to be a professor, and he finds out that an ex-student of his wrote a book, and there's a chapter of a book about him, and he freaks out about it, and he's like, but I'm trying to rack my brain and remember what happened. And she was my student, and we actually had a good time together. And then they end up sitting and talking about it. And you see like the difference
Mm,
in how you look back at the situation and you see it differently. And she was like, I felt that I was taken advantage of. And you were in a position of power and you were promising me these big things. And then suddenly after we had sex, everything changed and everything was different. And he was like, yeah, I felt like it was weird, but I couldn't understand why. And I didn't know what happened. And then, you see the situations in completely different ways. And you're stuck in your, you know, high and mighty situation and your position of power, and you can't see it from her perspective. Where in this situation, she's inherently in a more vulnerable spot. And no matter how you look at the situation, even if he didn't